Hi there. Today I'm going to go through the steps with you on how to make an awesome colored bundt cake. Below this video you will also find the recipe, so you have it so that you know how to make it and you have all your measurements. Okay? Now, I've already made mine. I made mine ahead of time, so this is what the finished product should look like. I did my green, my red, my teal, and my purple, which were the colors I used. Okay? So that's the finished product. So what we're going to do first is we're going to get all our refrigerated items out and preheat our oven. You're going to preheat your oven to 350. So make sure it's preheated on 350. Now your refrigerated items, the only things that you're going to need are a cup of milk, 2 sticks of butter, and 7 eggs. You can also just take the carton of eggs out if you would like. Then after you get all of that stuff out and you preheat your oven, you're going to take your bundt pan, which is the shape of my pan that I'm doing. It looks like this. You're going to grease your pan and flour it. I know, it sounds a little funny, but you're going to need your flour. And instead of, a lot of people use butter like to grease their pans like when you're baking. I'm going to do mine with Crisco. Okay, so you're just going to take, I always put a bag on my hand so that you don't touch like it because it's really greasy. And I find it really easy to do it this way. You're just going to take a very little bit and just so it looks like you have grease in your pan, not butter. You do not want it to look like you have white butter in your pan. That means you have too much. Then after you do that, you're going to take a tablespoon of flour, okay, and just sprinkle it around in your pan. Now, you want to make sure that your whole pan is coated in it, including this cone in the middle, so that nothing sticks to it. So, after you do that, I'm going to show you your utensils and all of your ingredients. So I'll do your utensils first. What you're going to need is, of course, your mixer. Okay? Now after you have your mixer out, you're going to need 1 teaspoon, it's a measurer, and your other one you're going to need a tablespoon. After you get those out, you're going to need a half a cup, it's a dry cup measuring cup. You need a half cup of one of those, and a dry cup, 1 cup measuring cup. Whisks, you can use 1, I'm going to use 2. You're going to need your sifter, so you can sift your flour, your salt, and your baking powder together into your bowls. You're going to need your spatula so you can mix it around while it's inside your mixer. You're going to need a cake tester so you can test your cake. You're going to need a wet 1 cup measuring cup. And you're also going to need 3 bowls. Okay? Now, your ingredients for this video are going to include, which you know your refrigerated items, your butter, your eggs, and your milk, cake flour, baking powder, vanilla extract, which is just in a little bottle. You're going to need salt, your flour, your sugar, and I'm using, because I have a red layer in my cake, I'm doing it just with a little flavoring in it. I used raspberry gelatin, just so it would give it some flavor. And then to dye my cake, I'm using the Wilton Icing Coloring. That's what they're called. I'm using red no taste, Kelly green, violet, and teal. So after you have all your ingredients out, and what I mean, it's very good to have all of them out and set up. After you have all your ingredients out, what we're gonna do next is we need. Sorry, let me get back to where I was. Lost my place. We're gonna get started with the cake. So what you're going to do is you're going to need to take your butter and your sugar and measure them out. So you're going to take your 2 sticks of butter. Okay, move all my stuff over. Okay, 2 sticks of butter. You're going to need your mixer and your bowl. Now you're going to take your butter and you're going to put it in whole. I mean, you can cut it up, but we just put it in whole. It's easier to do that. So that you're just going to take it out of the wrapper and put it in. Okay, so you can have your butter in your bowl. Then you're going to need your sugar. Alright. And you're going to need 2 cups of granulated sugar. And it's better to use granulated than any other types of sugar because of how fine they are. So after you have that in your bowl, you're going to measure it out and you're going to put them in the mixer. I almost said blender. You're going to put them in the mixer and you're going to mix them together so that it kind of looks like it's not going to kind of look like. It's going to look like your butter and your sugar are going to be mixed together so that it's light and fluffy. So it has to be light and fluffy. And you're going to do it for like 5 to 7 minutes at least. So you're going to turn your mixer on to like a medium speed. I'm going to do mine on like 3. Okay, and it's going to mix together. So after you're done doing that, you can also put your mixer on medium high, which is probably going to be a better speed for you to do. So it'll work faster. After you do that, then you're going to add your sugar gradually. You're not going to all put it in at once. You're going to do your butter and mix it around. And after you measure your sugar, 2 cups, you're going to add it gradually in. You don't want to do it all at one time or it's just the texture's not going to be right. So then you're going to do it a bit at a time until it comes out light and fluffy. Then you're going to turn your mixer off. Alright? After you turn your mixer off, then you're going to measure your 1 cup of milk. I already have my cup of milk out. Because you need to have it out because it needs to be at room temperature. Alright? So here's my cup of milk. Now, in your cup of milk, you're going to take your vanilla extract and you're going to measure the vanilla extract and the milk. You need 1 cup of milk. And your vanilla extract, you have to have 2 teaspoons, excuse me. So you're going to take 2 teaspoons and you're going to put it in your milk. Now, that's what I use the whisk for. This little whisk, I just use to mix around in the milk to make sure it's all mixed together. So that you don't have it like floating all over the place and it's not mixed together and like put together so that it doesn't separate in your bowl when you're putting it in. So after you do that, you're going to set it aside because it's going to come in your next step, so you're going to need it. So after you whisk those together, you're going to set it aside. Now, we're going to sift. So you're going to take your sifter, and I find it really easy just to take your sifter and put it on top of your 1 cup measuring cup, just like this. Okay, so your sifter and your 1 cup measuring cup. And you're going to take your flour. You're going to measure your flour and put it in. So you're just going to put your flour inside your sifter, right? You're going to take your baking powder and your salt and measure those and put it right in the sifter. And after you do that, you're going to take the sifter and you're going to sift it in right into your mixture after you have done the light and fluffy with the sugar and butter. You're going to sift it in and you're going to add at least 1/4 cup of milk, 1/4 cups of milk at a time, gradually, into your mixer as you have it on a low speed. Now, you're going to be adding your flour and your baking powder and your salt in. So you want to have your mixture on like low, because if you don't, you're going to have this big cloud of powder everywhere because your flour is going to be coming out of your bowl and not mixing in. Won't be good for the cake because it won't taste like cake. You won't have as much flour and all of your ingredients that you need in your bowl. So you're going to incorporate it, and then after your flour is completely mixed in, you can turn it up to medium high. But every time you add in your flour, you want to turn it down to low because it will fly out. We don't want that to happen. So after you do that, you're going to add your cake flour 1 cup at a time. Same thing, make sure it's on low. And then after you do that, you're going to alternate with the milk mixture, and I believe it's just your regular flour. So you want to start with your flour and end with your flour. You don't want to end with milk. So I'm going to start with my flour and put it in, and then I'm going to put some of my milk in as it's going. But you only want to put 1/4 of a cup of milk in at a time so that it doesn't get all like wet and gooey at once, so that it gradually mixes in as you're going. So then after that, we're going to take our bowl, okay? So as I told you, we had other bowls. This is my other bowl. one of my other bowls, right? And you're going to take your whisk. Now, you're going to have to separate your eggs from your egg whites because when you're doing a colored cake, you want to use a white cake and not a yellow cake. Or a chocolate cake or something like that. So you're going to take your eggs, okay, and you're going to crack it open on like the side of the bowl so that it's cracked right here in the middle. And you're going to take the yolk, that yellow part of the egg, out of it, and that clear stuff, which is the white part of the egg. You want the white part in your bowl. You don't want any yolk in your bowl. If it is a major part of your cake to not have any yolk in your bowl because it'll make it taste different and it will also change the color of your cake. Just a few drips of it will make a matter and a difference. So we're going to use 7 of these, and you're going to need just the egg white, so you can just toss the yolk. So after you're done with that, what you're going to do is you're going to take your whisk, and you're just going to whisk it around, so you're going around like this on the side of the bowl. And you want to get it so it's fluffy and airy, so you have like air bubbles inside your yolk, so that's just not the whites of your egg. You want to have it with bubbles, and you want it look so it's getting like thicker and lighter, so you have your air bubbles, and it's getting fluffy at the same time, excuse me. So then you're going to turn your mixer back on to medium-high, alright? And after you have your mixer on medium-high, you're going to gradually add in the egg whites. So you're just going to gradually take your egg whites and add them into the mixer, like a little bit at a time. Alright? So then after you do that, you're going to mix on high for about, I don't know, say 3 minutes, or until you have like a smooth, silky cake batter. Okay? So once you have a smooth, silky cake batter, you're now going to separate your bowls, your mix, into 4 different bowls. Okay? So once you have it into 4 different bowls, let me get my bowls out. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And when you're done with your mixture, always make sure you have it up in the rest position just like this. So it's up and not down, because you don't want your cake batter to be all over your mixer because it's just going to make a mess. So once you have your cake batter in your big bowl, you're going to have your 3 little bowls. Okay? And this is, you're going to take your cake batter and you're going to put it into 3 other bowls evenly. Now you want to make sure you have the even amount of cake batter in this bowl also. So you're just going to pour it into the bowls, like just a little at a time, just to make sure that you have an even amount. Now, the colors I did, which I told you earlier, were my violet, my no taste red, they're all no taste, the teal, and my Kelly green. Now, you can use a toothpick. If you have chopsticks, I find it easier to use the end of a chopstick because it's thicker and it'll grab more. So you're going to take the chopstick, and inside your dye, you're just going to grab a little dye and put it in your bowl. Now, you can add as much dye as you want to how dark or how light you want the color. The lighter the color, the less dye you have. The darker the color, the more dye you have in your color. So you're going to put dye in each of your bowls with your batter. Now, the red bowl, the red dye that I'm doing, I'm going to take my gelatin, which came in earlier, my raspberry gelatin, and before I put my red dye in that bowl, I'm going to do it last, because when I do my other dyes, I don't have to add anything else into it. So you're going to take your 1 tablespoon, and you're going to do like, I think it's 2 of them, I believe. Yeah. You're going to take 2 of these, and you're going to put the gelatin into your 1 bowl that you're doing red. Now, it doesn't matter. What's going to happen when you add your raspberry is it's going to turn the batter pink. I wanted mine more red, so I took the red dye on a chopstick and I put some in, just to give it a little bit more of the red tone than a pinky tone, because I didn't want it pink. Now, you can add as much as you want. You can do different colors. It doesn't matter. You can do 4 or 5 colors. It doesn't really matter how many colors you can do, but that's how you're going to end up doing the colors. So after you do the colors, and you separate them into equal portions, and you do that, you are going to then take your greased Bundt pan, okay, so you have your dye in your bowls, which my bowls are empty right now because I don't have batter in them, because I've already done it. Okay, so I have my greased and flour pan. I did my purple on the bottom. Whatever color you want on top, you're going to do on the bottom. So as in my cake, as you can see, it's purple, teal, red, and green. The green, because it's on the bottom, you put that on top because you're going to be flipping your cake over. So if you want, say you want a purple on the bottom where the green is, you'd put the purple down here and the green would be up here. So what I did was I put my purple in first, then I did my teal, then I did my red, and then I did my green. Now, when you're putting your batter inside your pan, you don't want to have clumps here and there so that you have like dots of like batter here and batter over here and over here. Say it was red, and then you pour your blue in, or your teal, or whatever color you're doing next, and it'd be filling in those spots. If you want the pattern that I did, instead of it being curved over like a rainbow, and it have like the straight lines in it, I advise you do it straight around. You're just going to make one whole circle. And after you do that, you're going to do it with each color and pour them in and make sure they're flat. Now, after you do that and you have all of your colors in, just move my bowls. After you do that and you have all of your colors in, what you're going to do is you're going to take your pan, and because your oven is preheated already, you're going to put your pan on the middle rack in your oven, in the middle of the rack. Okay? So the middle rack, middle of the oven. And I have a timer. You can use your timer or you can just do it. But I advise you use your timer because you're going to have to set the cake for 50 to 55 minutes. And as I showed you before, one of my utensils is my cake tester. Now, my cake tester, until your 55 minutes isn't up, don't check your cake in the middle. It's not going to be done. So I advise you, until your 55 minutes or 50 minutes is up, or until then, you're going to take your what's it called? Your cake is done. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your cake out, okay? So take your cake out of your oven. So here's your cake. Shut your oven off. You got to make sure your oven's off or your house is going to overheat and it's going to be really hot in there. You're going to take your pan and you're going to put out a cooling rack. I don't know if I have it out still. I do. A wired rack is what I use. It's pretty much the only good thing. Okay? So you're going to take your pan out, and it's going to look like this on your wire rack. Okay? So it's cooling. And your cake has to cool for at least 10 minutes sitting on the wire rack. After 10 minutes, I'd let it go for like 12, just to give it an extra 2 minutes. After it's done cooling, you're going to take your pan and your wire rack. Okay? Now, this wire rack, I'm going to put it upside down so that the feet are facing up, and put it over on my Bundt pan because you have to invert your cake so that it's flipped the right way. So the color on the bottom, which was the purple that you saw in mine, is going to now be on the top, even though I put it in the cake, in the pan, underneath all of the other colors. So after that, you're going to let it flip. Okay, so you're going to flip your pan, and you're going to take it off, and your cake is going to be sitting here. Now, this is what it looks like. Okay? So, after you do that, you have your cake. Okay? So, after that, you're going to let it cool for at least 2 hours or more so that your cake is completely cool, because you can't do anything to it when it's hot or warm. You got to let it cool completely. After it's done cooling, okay? Some people like to use a glaze, so they drip a glaze over the top of it so it like drips down the sides. Or some people like to use icing. I don't do that because I don't have a major sweet tooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some powdered sugar, okay? Some powdered sugar and a little bit of my gelatin. Now, my powdered sugar, I'm going to take, it's a different type of sifter for me, alright? You're going to take a very little bit with like a tablespoon maybe, not even that much. So I'm going to take like this much, and I'm just going to like put my hand under this so that it goes in. Okay? See how it came out in my hand like this? So I'm just going to drip it over the cake. Now, because it's in this, as you can see it, I'm going to drip it over the cake. instead of doing icing or glaze. I'm good. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to put my excess back in the bag, okay? And I'm also going to take some of my gelatin now. I'm going to close this up. Alright, and now I'm going to take some gelatin. Now, you don't want too much gelatin because if you put too much on there, it's going to give it either a sour / bitter taste on top, and you don't want that. So, I mean, you can put it in the sifter, or you can just do this and sprinkle it on. It's just to give it a little color on top, because you're not going to see like a lot of the color on the outside. But in my cakes, you are because of the way that we baked it. But I'm just going to lightly give it some color. It's just like, it looks like little red crystals on top. You're just going to take like, it's like pixie dust, like when you're a kid, and you're just going to drip it over the top of it, okay? So that it gives it some color with the white. Alright? And you're done. This is what your finished product is going to look like. Okay? So you're going to have your powdered sugar, and then you're going to have your red cake mix. And as you can see, it does dye your hands. And make sure you have a paper towel under you when you're doing this, because it is going to drip everywhere underneath your wired wrap. So let me just rinse my hands off. And I hope you guys really do enjoy this. All you have to do now is slice and cut. And I sliced it because you have the big piece. The way that the Bundt cake does form, which I can show you. If I can find my pan anywhere. Behind me. Alright. So you can have your big piece here, and then you have your two small ones next to it. So I kept these two the same size, and I just split this one in half just to make more cake. So that's what I did. So all you have to do, you don't have to do that. You can cut it the way it is on the form that it is. Just gotta slice it and enjoy your cake. But I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed my cake. It was really good. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. I made one before this, but after that, it tastes really good, and I hope you enjoy the colored creation that I did make, and I hope you enjoy. Thanks. Bye.